This training video covers step 4 of the HeavyJob Foreman's Reference Guide. In this video, we're going to cover adding employees and equipment to the time card. We will look at how to build a crew manually, we'll look at how to copy a time card, and we'll look at how to merge those two for pulling in your crew from dispatch with what I call the merge option. So to get started, we have the HeavyJob field system open, and as we've discussed in previous videos, the first step is to check your triangle. Your triangle is the job. Make sure you have the correct job open. Make sure that you have your date set to the correct date, and make sure that you are the correct foreman before creating any time card or diary. Since we're working on the time card, I'll go ahead and switch to the time card, and you'll notice that it kept the same job, same date, same foreman's name. The first thing we'll look at is building a crew manually. In order to do this, go ahead and click on the Employee Equipment button that's right under the Record Safety button, and you'll see the Employee Equipment selection screen. On the left side are all the active job employees. On the right side, all the active job equipment. And when I say job, that's specific to this job. These are the employees and equipment that have been set up in the job you currently have open. Most users usually start with the employees, so we'll click anywhere in the employee side, and you have several options to find and add employees. You can use the filter by name, so if you want to find all the employees named Mike, type in the filter by name screen, type your name, and hit the search button, and you will see all the employees named Mike or with Mike as part of their name. One of those employees is the person you want to add to the time card. Select them and click the blue arrow to move them to the center. Now you have several options here. The blue arrow, you can double click, you can hit the spacebar key, you can drag and drop. So a lot of different ways to add each employee to the time card. If you get an employee in the center by mistake, select that employee, hit the red X, and delete them. And then if you need to search for another employee, you can either replace the name, I'll search for anybody named Bob, or hit the X on the magnifying glass to cancel the search and go to the full list. Within the full list, if you have clicked in this list anywhere, you can use quick filter tool. If you type the first letter of the last name, type a G, it takes me to the G's. Type a W, it takes me to the W's. Type a T, it takes me to the T's. If you're fairly quick, if you type a DE, it will take you to the first DE entry, and you can use this shortcut to move throughout this list, or you can simply scroll the list up or down. If you have a mouse, you can use the wheel on your mouse to roll the list up and down and select your employees, move them to the center. There are some other options with employees. By default, they are sorted by the employee code, which is last name, then first name. If you prefer, you can sort them by name, which would give you first name, then last name. The payroll code sort order is probably not very useful because it's in the background sorting by their employee number, but the pay class sort order might be helpful. You may know that you have an employee. You may not be sure what his or her name is, but you know that they're a laborer, so you can open up that pay class and look for individual employees within each pay class. So whatever works for you to find the employee and move them over to the center to add them to your time card. Finally, on the employee side, I mentioned at the beginning that this is a job-specific employee list. So if you're looking at this list, the only employees you are seeing are employees that have been set up in the job that you have open. A lot of times employees might get added to what we call the employee library, which is the master list, and you may have to look in that library in order to add an employee. If you do not see the employee you're looking for on the job list, then go ahead and tap pull from library, and you'll see a list of any employee that is in the master list that's not yet in the job. If you select an employee from this list and click OK, it will do two things. It will add that employee to your time card, but it will also add them to the job so that the next time you need to find that employee. They'll be on the job list. The final option on the employees. Every once in a while, we get an employee that mistakenly gets set up as inactive. When you're looking at this list, it is just active employee. If you can't find an employee you're looking for, I always recommend clicking on the Show All just to see if they are in your system as an inactive employee, and you can select them from this list, and that will activate them or reactivate them and allow you to put them on the time card. The next thing we'll look at is equipment. For granite construction, equipment must be linked to an employee. That means that when we send the time card to our accounting system, in order for equipment hours to be imported into accounting, equipment hours must be accompanied by a valid employee code, and that's why we link our equipment to employees. In order to do that, if I have my employees on the time card here, I'll select the employee I want to link the equipment to. I'll come over to the equipment side, and I have the same quick search, but it only works for equipment numbers. So I can type 06 to get to my pickups, and I can locate the pickup that I want for this employee, select it, hit the blue arrow, move it over, and that will add the equipment linked to the employee that I had highlighted. Unlinked equipment will come over and line up directly in line with each employee, and this will cause an error. So every piece of equipment must be linked to an employee. You can link up to 9 pieces of equipment with each employee, and you can link 1 piece of equipment to multiple employees. So it's fairly forgiving in that sense, but what we can't do is add equipment unlinked. Other options on the equipment side are the filter by description. Now, this does not work for equipment numbers, but it does work for equipments like loader. So if I type in loader and search for loaders, there's the list of all the loaders. You can see that they're all 08 numbers. If I select the loader, select the employee, move the loader over, it will link it to that employee. Same options as employees. If you've got this filtered down in filter by description to get back to the full list, click the red X. If it's possible you're not finding a piece of equipment, click the Show All to show active and inactive equipment. And finally, Pull from Library works the same way. If you click Pull from Library, you would see a list of any equipment that is set up in the library in the equipment master file, but not yet in the job. In this case, I don't have any at all to select from, but if I had equipment on the Pull from Library list, selected it, clicked OK, it would add it to the equipment list. It would add that equipment to the time card. On the center screen, there are some things that you can do to help you manipulate your time card so that the employees and equipment appear the way you want them to. If you want to move an employee up or down on the list, select that employee and use the up arrow to move them up, use the down arrow to move them down. If you need to relink the equipment to a different employee, you can simply drag it and drop it on another employee and it will link it to that employee. If you want the same equipment linked to 2 employees, go ahead and copy it and drag the copy to the other employee. That way I have the same loader linked to 2 different operators. One ran it in the morning, one ran it in the afternoon. Finally, if you have equipment that's on the job site but not really operated by anyone, if you search for EQ, you should see an equipment-only employee. This is a valid employee. It has a valid employee number. It can be added to your time card. It can be put anywhere you want on the time card, and that equipment-only employee can have up to 9 pieces of equipment linked to it. Once you have your employees and equipment selected, go ahead and click OK, and HeavyJob will add everything from the center screen to your time card. The next option we'll look at is Copy Time Card. There are 2 ways to use the Copy Time Card feature. If you go to an existing time card, I have a time card for the 15th, I can copy this time card to any day. It will bring up a date. It will actually let me copy to a different format if I needed to put it for another foreman, I have options to copy cost codes, hours and production quantity, and cost code note. I recommend that you never copy hours and production quantity or cost code note. That's setting yourself up for mistakes because you'll forget to change those cost codes or change those employee hours. I'm okay if you're working on the same items to go ahead and copy cost codes. Using this feature, you can actually copy this crew to another job. If you were working on job A on the 15th and you want to work on job B on the 29th, then you come over and hit select job and select a different job, and it will copy just the crew to that new job. So that's the copy current time card feature. If you go to a blank time card, the copy feature changes to copy previous, and if you click on copy previous, it will give you a list of all previous time cards for that foreman. In this sample job, I only have one, the one for the 15th. I'm going to just copy over the crew, and you'll see how easy it was for me to copy over the crew. The crew came over in the order that I had them set up on the time card with the employees and equipment linked to the correct employees. So that is the copy time card feature. If you are working in a location that uses the HCSS dispatch program, the preferred method is to copy your time card from a selected date, as I've done here, where I have the employees in the order that I want them, and then also use the pull-in crew feature. Pull-in crew is going to bring in the dispatch file from the HCSS dispatcher program. When I use it in conjunction with an existing time card, you'll see that it will offer me what I consider best of both worlds. I've got my time card from yesterday in the order that I want. The dispatch comes over alphabetically, so I may have the exact same crew, but it may not be in the order that I want. Also, there may be employees that are on my job today that weren't on my job yesterday, and pull-in crew from dispatch is going to put those employees on my time card so I don't forget to pay them. So I'll go ahead and click OK on the pull-in crew, and you'll see that I have two options. It says an unlocked time card currently exists for 10/16. What do you want to do? I can replace the resources in the current time card. In other words, that would basically wipe out the existing time card that I copied and replace it with the pull-in crew time card, or I can include new crew in the current time card. That's the preferred option. Go ahead and check that second option and say OK. And if you have a valid internet connection, HeavyJob will go out to the internet, find your dispatch file, and pull in your crew from dispatch. In this case, you can see that it added a couple of employees that were not on the previous time card. If you go look at the time card for the 15th, the last name on there is Fernando. If you look at what came in from dispatch, I have a couple more employees added. So the pull-in crew after copying your time card is, to me, perfect world. You've copied your time cards, you've kept the employees in the order that you need them. You've also connected with the dispatcher, so you've got new employees, new equipment, and you're able to update the dispatcher now when you call in and say, I don't need this person, I don't have this person, I need this piece of equipment, I don't need this piece of equipment. So copy time card, get your blank time card, copy a previous time card, or copy a current time card to today's date, and then use the pull-in crew, select the second option to merge your crew with the copied crew. And that's it for this video on how to add employees and equipment to the time card.